Anna, good afternoon. Great to have you with us on this Monday afternoon. And great to have with us right now on the KXNT Live Line, Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, good afternoon. Welcome to Las Vegas and welcome to KXNT.
Alan, good afternoon. It's great to be with you.
I appreciate you taking the time to join us. Let me get right into this. We've only got a couple of segments here, so I've got a lot to ask of you. While Trump has climbed in a national poll, your numbers are significantly rising as well. You've even passed Trump in Iowa, by the way, to take over the top spot. What do you think is driving people to take this serious positive look at you and your candidacy?
Well, Alan, I'm very encouraged by the momentum we're seeing nationally, the momentum we're seeing in the early primary states in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and here in Nevada. And I think the reason is what we're seeing conservatives uniting. We're seeing conservatives coming together. And I think people are tired of what I call campaign conservatives, people who talk a good game on the trail but haven't walked the walk. And I think they're looking for a consistent conservative, somebody who's been the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, someone who has walked the walk. And I'll tell you, I think one of the things that has really changed in this race is in the aftermath of Paris and San Bernardino. People are looking for a strong commander-in-chief, someone who will stand up and defeat radical Islamic terrorism, someone who will utterly destroy ISIS, and someone who will keep Americans safe. And that's exactly why I'm running to be president.
Are you concerned at all that the traditional establishment, mainstream Republican part of the party, would like a brokered convention as opposed to you or Donald Trump, because you guys aren't exactly traditional, Rockefeller, Romney Republicans? I mean, you guys are much more conservative, especially you on a very consistent basis.
Well, I think you're right that nobody has ever called me a Rockefeller Republican, and I don't think we're in any danger of that happening anytime soon. Look, the fact that the Washington establishment is panicking right now, that they are freaked out of their minds, is really an indication of what's happening across this country, which is that people are fed up. And it's not just Republicans. It's Republicans, independents, libertarians, even Democrats are fed up with Washington. They're fed up with what I call the Washington cartel. This summer, Alan, I wrote a book called A Time for Truth, where I talked quite a bit about the Washington cartel, the career politicians in both parties who get in bed with the lobbyists and special interests, and they grow and grow and grow government. It's why we've got an $18 trillion national debt. It's why, even with Republican majorities in both houses, we don't see strong conservative leadership. And I think the reason that the establishment is so terrified is we're seeing the old Reagan coalition coming together behind our campaign. We're seeing conservatives and evangelicals and libertarians coming together. We're seeing young people and Hispanics and African Americans and Jewish voters and women and Reagan Democrats all coming together. And that's what it's going to take. You think about the last time we broke the Washington cartel, it was 1980. It was the Reagan Revolution, and it came from the grassroots. That's the strength of our campaign. It ain't Washington. It is the American people. I'll give you one data point on that. Since this campaign has started, we've had nearly 600,000 contributions, people all over the country going to tedcruz.org, contributing, signing up, volunteering. That's how we break the Washington cartel. We do it from the grassroots, and we do it from we the people.
Well, I know a lot of people are very excited about your candidacy as well. Stay with me. I'm going to put you on hold for a moment.
Sure.
We take a little bit of business here. We'll come on back and continue with Senator Ted Cruz here for the debate tomorrow night, and we'll continue our discussion in just a moment right here at News Talk 840 KXNT. All right, it's 5:16 right here at KXNT, and a good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us. Joining me on the KXNT Live Line is Senator Ted Cruz. And, Senator, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Alan.
I played that particular for you, by the way.
And I have to admit, I was chuckling. That was pretty good.
I know. You were attacked as being a maniac by Donald Trump, and you responded by saying, I'll just tweet the song out. That's all. Real quick, I don't want to belabor this, but do you plan to continue the strategy of not attacking your fellow candidates, throughout the debate tomorrow night?
Listen, absolutely. That has been my focus from day one. I don't think the American people are interested in a bunch of candidates bickering like school children. And so if others engage in personal attacks, if they go down into the gutter, I have not responded in kind, and I don't intend to. I intend to keep the focus on substance, on my positive, optimistic, conservative vision for this country. And I think what people are interested in is how we solve the very real problems we have, how we bring back jobs and economic growth, how we defend our constitutional rights that are under assault from Washington.
This is the exact the track that the President Reagan took when he ran the first time as well. He would not attack other Republicans.
That is exactly right, that it shouldn't be a food fight or personal insults. Now, policy differences are fair game. You know, if there's a difference on policy or record, that should be the meat of politics. And I think if we're going to talk about the differences candidates have in their records on immigration or on Obamacare or on taxes or anything else, I think that's fair game. But the personal insults, I think, have no place in politics.
I appreciate that very much, and I think you're absolutely 100% correct. Now, brought up immigration. Donald Trump talked about putting a halt to all Muslim immigration. Conservative economist Larry Kudlow has just come out with a proposal that I've been talking about for some time. I'd put a halt to all immigration while we investigate where our immigration process is broken, reform the vetting process for immigrants and foreign visitors, change the screening process, a new visa application review process, and more. Would you agree with halting all immigration while we fixed the process?
Well, there's no doubt that we need dramatic reforms to fix the process and keep the country safe. And I've introduced 3 pieces of legislation to do that. The first would put a 3-year moratorium on all refugees coming from countries where ISIS or Al-Qaeda control significant territory. Our enemy is radical Islamic terrorism. They have declared war on this country, and we need to protect ourselves against it, particularly given that the FBI has told Congress they cannot vet these refugees to ensure that they're not ISIS terrorists, so we need to halt that across the board. Secondly, I've introduced legislation that would give the states the authority to opt out on receiving any refugees within the state lines if they cannot be certain that the federal government has vetted them to make sure they're not terrorists. And I would note I'm very encouraged by the support we're receiving from governors across the country for not having, in particular, these Syrian Muslim refugees coming to this country that President Obama and Hillary Clinton want to bring here, even though they can't properly vet them. And the third piece of legislation I've introduced is what's called the Expatriate Terrorist Act, that provides that any American that goes and joins ISIS, that takes up arms and wages jihad against America, that if he or she does that, you lose your American citizenship, so that we don't have American citizens coming back to this country using U.S. passports to try to murder innocent Americans. We need serious leadership in Washington, and I'll tell you, as president, my number one priority is going to be keeping this nation safe, protecting the homeland, and making sure terrorists are not coming to America.
I like all 3 points, by the way. I like all 3 points a lot because the last point addresses the Manchurian candidate aspect of this. Somebody coming back and having been, radicalized somewhere else and then doing what happened in San Bernardino. All right. Now, Senator Rubio has tried to paint you as an isolationist, suggested you would cut aid to Israel. What is America's role when it comes to leading the charge against evil, and how would a President Cruz address the American relationship with Israel?
Well, look, it's not surprising that other candidates in this field are attacking me. As you mentioned, our numbers are surging. Conservatives are uniting, and I think a number of other candidates, including Senator Rubio, their campaigns are very, very concerned to see conservatives uniting behind our campaign. So they're raising a lot of false attacks. And in fact, just last week, Mark Levin wrote a terrific column on Conservative Review explaining that Senator Rubio's attacks are fundamentally false. They're lies. And indeed, he accused him of using Saul Alinsky-like tactics, just like Obama, and distorting the record. You know, my record is very clear. When it comes to the nation of Israel, there has been no stronger advocate and defender of the nation of Israel in the Senate than I have been, leading the fight over and over again to stand with Israel, and leading the fight in particular against this Iranian nuclear deal, which is the single greatest national security threat to America. And Prime Minister Netanyahu has rightly described it as an existential threat to Israel. And in my view, America should stand unapologetically with the nation of Israel. We should stand with our friends and allies instead of abandoning them, as we've done under Barack Obama. And we need to stand up to our enemies. We need to end this weakness and appeasement. We need to end this apologizing for America. And if I'm elected president, we will make clear to every militant on the face of the planet, if you go and join ISIS, if you take up arms and wage jihad against America, you are signing your death warrant.
I'm talking with Senator Ted Cruz, who's here for the debate tomorrow night. Would you move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, the capital of Israel?
Absolutely, yes. And indeed, I have pledged to begin the process of doing so on my very first day in office. And I've pledged to do 5 things on my first day in office. Number 1, rescind every single illegal and unconstitutional executive action by President Obama. Number 2, to instruct the U.S. Department of Justice to open an investigation into Planned Parenthood and these horrible videos. Number 3, to instruct the Department of Justice and the IRS and every other federal agency that the persecution of religious liberty ends today. Number 4, to rip to shreds this catastrophic Iranian nuclear deal. And number 5, as you just mentioned, to begin the process of moving the American Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, the once and eternal capital of Israel. And let me mention one thing on this, Alan. You know, a lot of presidential candidates, both Democrats and Republicans, have made that same promise regarding Jerusalem. And inevitably, when they get to the White House, they don't do it. And the reason they don't do it is their team comes to them and says, listen, if we do this, it's going to make other folks in the Middle East really, really unhappy with us. Well, if you hadn't noticed, they're already pretty unhappy with us. And the single biggest difference between me and the other very, very fine men and women standing on that debate stage is that with me, when I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do exactly what I said I would do.
Let me change direction. I'm glad to hear all of what you had to say. The Department of Education was created by Jimmy Carter in October of 1979, and since that centralization concept, we've seen states taking orders from the federal government, the quality of education compromised overall. Would you abolish the Department of Education, allowing states to keep the education dollars they're currently sending to D.C. and allow the states to decide the best education direction for themselves?
Let me give you 3 answers on that, Alan. Yes, and absolutely yes.
Well, there's no equivocation. Okay, I got that.
and listen, the media says when you're abolishing the Department of Education that somehow it's because education doesn't matter. They get it exactly backwards. Education is too important for it to be governed by unelected bureaucrats in Washington. Instead, it needs to be at the state level or even better, the local level. And one of the things I pledged to do in my opening days as president is direct the Department of Education that Common Core ends today. The Obama administration is abusing its executive power, trying to force Common Core on the states. That will end in a Cruz administration, and I intend to fight to abolish the Department of Education altogether and to send those funds back to the states and back to the people.
Do you think that you would choose your vice presidential candidate from among those who are currently vying against you?
I think that there are certainly some strong candidates who are running right now, and I've said many times that any Republican candidate would be a fool for the men and women standing on that stage not to comprise a substantial portion of the cabinet. We are blessed to have a rich and dynamic and diverse field, and you know, Abraham Lincoln surrounded himself with what's famously been called a team of rivals. Now, when it comes to vice president, listen, I think it's premature for me to make a decision on that. First, I got to win some primaries and win the nomination. But I think it is important that the vice president be a principled conservative and be someone who is prepared to step in and serve as in the job as president from day one if the president gets hit by a truck. And I intend to make that decision very, very seriously. And to put together a winning ticket. We have got to win in 2016 because if we keep going down this road another 4 or 8 more years with Hillary Clinton, Alan, I fear we will lose the greatest country in the history of the world. We cannot do that. We've got to win. And what encourages me so much is the energy and passion we're seeing on the ground. I believe 2016 will be an election like 1980. The Reagan Revolution in 1980, it took Jimmy Carter to give us Ronald Reagan. And I believe we're going to win 2016. Barack Obama is doing the same thing. We're going to win 2016 by following Reagan's admonition to paint in bold colors, not pale pastels. And just like the Reagan Revolution, we are seeing a grassroots army coming together at tedcruz.org, joining our team. And if it comes from the we the people, that's how we break the Washington cartel. It's how we turn the country around.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, believe me. One last quick question. A lot of things to love about Las Vegas. We love our town here. It's no other place I'd rather live. What is your one favorite thing about the Las Vegas area that you could tell us?
Well, listen, what I love about Las Vegas, and it's what I love about the state of Nevada across the board, is the frontier independence of this state. That this state, like my home state of Texas, are rugged individualists who understand that anybody can show up with nothing and achieve anything. You know, that's the spirit of America. That's what built this country. It's what has sapped away under Barack Obama, and it's what we can get back to. If we can get back to common sense Nevada values, individual responsibility, the unlimited potential of free men and free women, that's how we turn this country around, and that's what Las Vegas and the state understand so powerfully.
I appreciate you taking time to join us this afternoon, and I want to wish you the very, very best in your efforts tomorrow night and beyond, and look forward to meeting you in person in the spin room tomorrow after the debate.
I look forward to it, and let me mention to everyone listening that we're having a big rally in Las Vegas this Thursday the 17th, 10 a.m. at the Sienna Club. 10 a.m. at the Sienna Club this Thursday. Come on by and learn more at tedcruz.org. Thank you, Alan, and God bless you.
You too, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Take care, Senator. Senator Ted Cruz joining us right here at News Talk 840 KXNT. Want to join in? Like to find out what you thought about what he had to say? You heard what he had to say. I asked a lot of questions. You heard all his answers. Your thoughts and more coming up in just a few moments at 733 KXNT, 733-5968. I'm Alan Stock.